Thanks for that live report, Reagan. The Mass State Police sergeant charged for his alleged involvement in a commercial licensing scheme has been dishonorably discharged by the Mass State Police following his retirement, effective today. State police say they issued the dishonorable discharge to Sergeant Gary Cedarquist, who was suspended without pay yesterday as he faces a federal indictment alleging they fraudulently conspired to issue commercial driver's license to applicants who were unqualified or didn't complete the full testing process. Trooper Joel Rogers was also suspended without pay yesterday. He, as well as retired state police members Calvin Butner and Perry Mendez, and 2 civilians were also charged in the federal indictment. The state police are now conducting an internal investigation.